off course here. We need to get back to this stuff. So, I was asking you, Jazz, you raised your hand for every single thing. How do you reconcile your feminist positions? And your feminist positions almost strictly relate to, like, not laws or anything. It relates to, like, gender expectations and a rejection of traditional gender roles. Yet in your own life, you don't hold up to your own sort of relinquishment of gender roles.
Yes. So my focus in education was on political thought and theory. So I think I can hold ideas and an ideology that I don't necessarily participate in the present, because those circumstances aren't a reality right now. So, and again, we live in society. Men do exist in a certain way. Women exist in a certain way and have certain roles. We aren't equal physically. So there is that standard. The standard exists, and I am someone that does participate in gender roles. But it's just an interest of mine. Like the idea of gender liberation and just political theory was my focus. So
my question to you is, because I assume that when it comes to, like, the traditional gender roles or expectations as it relates to women and dating, so you would say, for example, there's certain components that women should be able to escape from, like being submissive, right? Or being equal partners and not having the man make all the decisions in the relationship, right? You would reject that, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. Like in your own romantic relationships, do you want to be submissive?
I don't think so. I'm pretty independent, and I mean, I'm not speaking in sexual terms, but pretty dominant too in certain ways. And I think in my personal relationships, and this is why I think it's dangerous to perpetuate a certain idea and roles onto people, because everyone exists in a bunch of nuances. And in my personal relationships, I would rather just have a partner. So any characteristic that I lack, they should have. And if you're a man who exists as the role of a man in society and you need that counterpart to be a woman who exists as the way women exist in society in that role, then that's your prerogative.
Okay, so how do you believe in gender liberation? Hold on, Mary, let's get the cameras going, okay? Do you believe in gender liberation only for women?
No.
But okay, if all women, even feminist progressive women are like you, insofar as you like say, well, it should be the case that men are allowed to, maybe men can be stay-at-home dads. But if zero women, especially feminist progressive women who perpetuate that men should be allowed to do this, but none of them actually adhere to it in practice, in reality, then how can men ever explore these other kind of gender dynamics if you yourself, as a feminist progressive liberal woman, you don't even want that in your own relationship? And I think this would also equally apply to the vast majority of other feminist women who, despite their own proclamations of wanting gender liberation or gender equity or equality, they still demand chivalry and men paying for dates and men being protectors and providers and all these things in their relationships. You want to escape from your traditional gender roles in relationships, but you basically want to be 1950s bachelorettes and still maintain men to their traditional gender roles. How do you explain that?
No, I think everyone should just feel free to exist as they should. And I think perpetuating these roles is dangerous. And although I do look for men who have to protect me physically, I think first it needs to happen on an emotional level where you have a partner who's completely open with you emotionally and maybe matches you intellectually. But as it exists today, men are stronger than women physically, most likely. And
okay, so if I go ahead and just grant that, fine, it's okay for feminists to want men to be protectors, how about paying for first dates?
Yeah, I think when women go out with men, it's a risk it's a risk for assault, let's be honest. 33% of adult women are assaulted by men. So it's not like it's a rare occurrence.
This is a completely dubious statistic. You know
it's
that,
just
right?
my opinion, though.
The statistic is your opinion?
No.
Or
My
it's
opinion
fact?
that, like, if you're already fronting the risk.
You know, the statistics you reference include, it's really kind of a disgusting, egregious thing what they do with these feminist statistics. Essentially what they'll do is they'll lump in things that are perhaps we would agree like shouldn't be done, but are like not nearly as bad as like full-on violent stranger SA. For example, in these studies, they'll include things like catcalling. And
I think that statistic is like way more. It's like 9 out of 10 women experience.
Right, but they'll say, so here's what they'll do. They'll say that they'll create like this sort of amalgamation category, a catch-all category called sexual violence. And in the sexual violence category, they're going to say that things like catcalling, that falls under it. So when they give these questionnaires to these women and the women mark, well, yeah, this one time this guy catcalled me, or if a woman's ever been called a slut, that also is under the sexual violence.
Yeah, I don't.
So it totally skews the statistics.
Yeah, I don't know any valid research or academic that would post any sort of data that would represent catcalling as violence.
Sounds like that would be in the harassment category, not the violent
sexual
category.
harassment,
They
not
consider
sexual
it.
violence.
They consider
that's
it
an
under that
inaccurate
category.
data page.
Yeah, but if it is the case that all these feminist institutions and RAINN, for example, like that's pretty much the number one institution, as far as I know, that's advocating against SA.
And you think they skewer their data?
I've literally pulled, like I've actually looked at their statistics, and they make the 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 claim. And then if you look at the actual, most of it is from the NIS, but they've done other studies too. If you actually look at like the questionnaires that they're sending out to these women, it includes things like, have you ever been catcalled? Have you ever been called a bitch?
And this is considered reputable, or is this just like you're saying it's just feminist data points that they're pulling?
It's literally what they're citing to these like RAINN. It's the studies that they're citing to come to the determination that it's been 1 in 4 or 1 in 3 women are victims of these crimes. And then you're gonna say, oh, it's 1 in 3 women are raped, but it's actually no, it's they're factoring in.
No, I get what you're saying. I just don't know who would consider that to be, if what you're saying is true, who would consider that to be like accurate data selection.
I can show it to you if you'd like.
No, I get what you're saying, and that is what it's representing. I'm just wondering, like, there has to be someone who has countered their data and been like, this is a skewed data set and is inaccurate.
It's the data that these institutions that are purporting.
But it's an inaccurate data set.
Right, but I mean, if these are like the
talking points.
If these are the ultimate organizations that are dictating basically the cultural zeitgeist of 1 in 3 women are being SA'd, but it's including things like catcalling and getting called a slut. Yeah, that seems very misleading.
Yeah, I would completely agree.
Well, Ryan's just pointing out there's a lot of methodological issues, like defining and measuring violence is really difficult because you can only measure it by your definition of what it is. You understand? Like, if you consider catcalling, for instance, to be sexual violence, then that would skew your numbers extremely high when they're really not as high as you're claiming, right? Lifetime prevalence versus annual violence would be another one. Types of violence, inflated sense of prevalence, right, could be another issue. There's a lot of data biases which happen. When I look at these numbers, I look often at how these things are defined, and I find massive discrepancies which are absurd. Just absurd. Like the idea of catcalling, for instance, being sexual violence is fucking insane to me.
I would agree.
I'm going to let this chat come through, then we're going to move it on a little bit. Thank you, Pasty George. Appreciate it.
$200. Chair 1, can anyone be what they want? So, according to your logic, which other feminists also share, a person can be like Jason Voorhees or even Michael Myers. So, is mental illness a right? LOLXD.
Who are those people? Question?
I don't know. They're
Those are
asking if I
famous horror
support.
characters.
Yeah, if I support like serial killers, maybe is that the suggestion?
I think that's what he's asking.
I mean, obviously, there's a balance of morality that you have to consider when you are talking in conversations like this, and I think murder is morally wrong, and I think academics, anthropologists, political scientists, normal people on the street have all collectively agreed as a society that murder is wrong and serial killers.
Getting back into the notes here for no, it's fine. Jazz, so like I said, there was a bit of back and forth. You said that our ideas, so I suppose me and Andrew, our ideas about gender are fundamentally so different that it would be a waste for us to have the conversation that I suppose we are having, have been having, and are about to have. Can you clarify what ideas about gender are fundamental that me and Andrew is so fundamentally different? You
guys define gender as biological, and I disagree on that baseline, so we fundamentally disagree on the idea of gender.
That's incorrect. Neither Brian nor myself would define.
Oh, what is your definition of gender?
Yeah, so I'll explain.
Also, it's nice to meet you. I haven't seen you. I've seen like a clip recently, but...
So her criticisms were just towards me, I guess. Well, Andrew's part of the convo, so we'll... Go ahead. Sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, so we would say that sex was a biological category and gender would be a socially constructed category.
Oh, okay.
Gender is trying to allude to some type. Now, I would disagree with the descriptive of what you consider gender to be. That's true. But no, we would be able to separate these two concepts with ease.
Okay. Yeah, I agree as well that gender is a social construct, but you think that the way it exists, maybe not today, but a couple of years ago or decades ago, that men have a role in society and women have a role in society based off of their
role. Yeah, well, by necessity. So can men reproduce?
No.
No. So which sex do we have to count on to reproduce?
Sure, but why are you harping on reproduction so much?
Because you claim that there's no gender roles, right? That these are that it's a blank slate, that people can do whatever they want. But the truth is that we have to have a society, and that's going to require reproduction, right?
Do you not think that there would be some sort of balance when it comes
Before you ask me a question, can you do me the service of answering mine?
Oh, sorry, repeat your question.
Yeah, so is it the case that women are the only ones who can reproduce?
Yes.
Okay, so if that's the case, then help me out with this. If we want to have a society, we need women to reproduce, right?
Yes.
So if we need women to reproduce, why wouldn't we tailor society in such a way which was conducive to female reproduction and men who can't reproduce, not reproducing, but providing the services in which their body archetype is designed for? Why wouldn't we do that?
Well, do you think every woman should reproduce?
And hang on, answer my question first.
Well, I'm getting there, though. You're asking why wouldn't we...
You don't answer a question by asking one. You answer a question by answering it, and then I'll answer yours. So start with this. Why is it that you don't want to tailor society towards females reproducing, since they're the only ones who can, and men towards doing the hard labor jobs and the dangerous jobs, which basically only they can do as well? Why would you not want society conditioned that way?
Because I think it's extremely limiting to the human experience. I think women are more than just birth givers.
Okay. And can women have an experience if they're not fucking born?
No.
Okay. Now I'm willing to listen to your line of inquiry. Go ahead.
Do you think every woman should reproduce? Do you think that if the roles weren't the way that they are or the way that you want them to be, where you need a woman to reproduce?
So when you ask a monolithic question, the answer to your question is no. I wouldn't say every woman on planet Earth needs to reproduce, but that's kind of beside the point. The truth is that we still need to have reproduction in order to have a society. So even if it's the case that like women without uteruses can't reproduce, or women who can't menstruate can't reproduce, or women who can't have eggs can't reproduce, or even some women just are so untailored towards motherhood they can't, I would still think that you would want the social conditions for reproduction to be the thing you focused on, because otherwise you don't have human beings.
Yes. So do you think that reproduction wouldn't occur anymore if the roles weren't as they are now?
As a matter of fact, I don't. And here's my proof. What's the birth rate in every single Western country in most of the world? Is it above or below reproduction rates?
The birth
so you need
rate.
Mommy and daddy need to have 2 babies in order to replace mommy and daddy, right? Are mommy and daddy having 2 babies to replace mommy and daddy right now?
No, they're not.
Well, that's really weird. It's almost like when we apply your insane ideology of non-specific gender roles and moving the social conditioning to move women into the marketplace workforce where they're fucking miserable, it's not conducive to reproduction. Now, under my worldview, which is the right worldview, I would tailor society towards females and reproduction, which would include staunch gender roles. And then we would actually have a society.
Would
Right
you?
now,
And
what's
that
going on
excludes
is that
men
your society
pretending
is
to be
being-
women.
Your society, hang on. Your society is being replaced, literally replaced by immigrants because our societies can't reproduce themselves.
Would you not suggest that maybe women should just have more resources to help them?
Resources, you want women to have more resources?
To help with childbearing,
here's,
and then
here's the biggest resource I want to give to women that'll help them the most with childcare: time. The ultimate resource that every rich man will tell you is the one thing that they can never get back. It's the one thing that you spend and never comes back to you. Yeah, I would give them time. And you know how you give women lots and lots of time? You try to move the social conditions so that they can stay fucking home with their kids. And then what do they have the most amount of abundance of? Time. The one irreplaceable thing. So if you want to give women resources and stuff, right? I don't think stuff is going to do it. I think that time is what does it. If you're going to spend most of your day away from your child, how is that conducive to reproduction? How does that help us reproduce exactly?
The government did that to keep us separated and segregated to get more tax
The
money.
feminist
and
movement did.
to indoctrinate our children.
Actually, the feminist movement did.
Okay, fine.
It did.
Whatever. you
It
know
did.
what you're saying.
It really did. The original, it did.
someone else
And that's why we're here
on.
now.
Sin Magic
That's why we're
14
here
now.
donated
That's why we're here
$200.
Thank you,
You
sir.
are gorgeous, girl.
I think you are gorgeous.
No, wait. One. I'm so
Wait,
one.
wait,
It's
this
your
is for
8.
you.
4, 5, 6, 7.
thank you.
Oh, I thought you were 8. I'm so
there it is.
sorry. You were gorgeous too.
Did you have a response to Andrew, or
Yeah, again, I just think it's a really
stop?
limiting stance.
gorgeous, I thought.
Me personally, I don't think I would find my ultimate purpose and value in having children. I really want a career
But
myself.
You wouldn't have to. Like, don't you understand that through the illusion of you thinking that you're promoting choice, you're promoting prison ideology? The very idea that you have is because you would not be happy being a mommy. You want to go in the workforce or some shit like that and go work for a boss in a cubicle and complain about how cold it is to the HR lady. Because that's your dream. The assumption there is that all of society should be tailored towards this thing that you want. You can still do that shit, but why wouldn't you try to move society towards the idea of reproduction and the cross-generational or nuclear family, the backbone of all societies, the family unit? Why would you not want to move society towards that?
Well,
even if you want to go have your cushy little air-conditioned job and not reproduce.
I hate that women have to choose between raising a child and having a successful.
They don't.
Yeah,
career.
exactly. But here's the thing, right? But what you're saying right there is that you would prefer to limit. You would prefer to create limits. I hate that they have to choose, right? Guess what? They didn't always have to choose. That wasn't always the case.
Yeah, they didn't have a
pre-feminism.
choice before. It was just
Yeah,
their
but
children.
why is it such a bad thing to tailor society towards the idea that society can reproduce itself, even if it limits choice?
But reproduction
like we limit
doesn't-
choice for everything. It's a good idea to limit choice.
Reproduction isn't going to stop happening. There are still plenty of women who want to bear many children, more than one, more than two.
I
And
would like to read for you something here. I would like to read for you the birth rate in South Korea. The birth rate in South Korea is 0.78 births per woman. 0.78, not one. It's not one child per woman on average. It's less than one child per woman on average. Now, you can watch this on a flowchart from 1960 to 2000 completely bottom out into next to nothing. South Korea isn't going to be there in 200 years or even 100 years. If they continue on track, it's going to go, they're estimating it goes as low as 0.38, right? That is civilization ending.
Do they happen to have
what? For what? So that you can make a fucking sandwich for a boss somewhere? Like, what is that? So let me ask you this. I'll just ask you that. I've asked many feminists this. I already know the answer, but I'll ask you anyway. If it were the case that we limited women's rights in some capacity, but ended up with a thriving reproductive society, or the alternative is that society just ceased to exist because it could not reproduce itself, but women had no rights limited, would you select for the society being wiped out or for rights being somewhat limited for women?
I just don't think that's what's happening. I do have a question.
Answer the question. Answer the question.
I mean, it's a question that wouldn't realistically happen. I have a question about your previous.
It's designed to test your logic. I know it's not going to happen.
Well, I have a question about your previous statistic.
Listen, if I asked you if a meteorite struck right next door and started a big fire, would you evacuate the building? You say yes. It's not really going to happen, right? But the point is to test what you would do. So I'm going to give it to you again, the hypothetical again. If it were the case that we limited women's rights to some degree, but saw an explosion in reproduction, or we didn't limit women's rights to some degree, and society ceased to exist in 50 years or 60 years, which one would you select for? Which one would you prefer?
I don't think...
Answer the question.
I am answering the question.
All right.
I don't think what you're saying, like limiting women's rights, would... or taking away their rights, like saying that they should just be homemakers.
Yeah, the conditional is if it were the case that, so if it were the case that limiting women's rights slightly, and men's even, you limit both their rights slightly, right, led to a more reproductive and happy society, or you limited their rights in some capacity, would you prefer, but that led to society ceasing to exist in 50 years, which would you select for? I'm not asking whether you think that that would happen or not. So which one would you select for?
I would go with the first, but I also don't think that would be the outcome.
First? Tell us what that is.
If you're, it's just like extreme absolutes that wouldn't happen. So I really can't make a decision.
You don't know. You can't decide on whether or not the human species ceasing to exist and your society ceasing to exist would be preferable over slightly limiting some of your rights. You don't know the answer to that question, and you wonder why it is that so
because
many
I don't
people
think those are necessarily the exact outcomes that would happen.
Do you understand why so many more people gravitate towards my ideology than they do feminism? Because when you ask a person this question, it's such an easy answer, but feminists can't actually answer it because they know that the truth is that rather than be limited one iota, you would rather see society not fucking exist anymore.
But if roles were reversed, if men were limited to just the house and they couldn't have passions and success, you would feel...
You're not limited to just the house. I didn't say that. I said if you had some of your rights slightly limited. We have our rights slightly limited right now. I have limited rights on free speech. I can be drafted. Brian can be drafted. The men all watching can be drafted. We have all sorts of limits on our rights and all sorts of duties associated with us. So tell me, since, and it would be preferable for me if there was a slight limit on men's rights, but it led to a reproductive society, I would definitely prefer that. So, like, which one for you?
Again, I think these are absolutes that just wouldn't happen. Like,
yeah, I know, but if they did happen, which one would you select for?
I would want, if those were the absolutes that I have to choose from, I would want society to continue to exist. So limiting women's rights. But I do not believe that restricting their rights and would stop reproduction completely. I think we wouldn't have an issue. And I know you give that statistic in North Korea, but I do have a question: is if they have a limit to how many children that they can have?
Nope.
There's no limit.
Nope, it's not China. And China got rid of the one-child policy as well. There's no limit.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering because I was trying to conceptualize that.
So here, let me give you an easy thing that you could do to tailor this that would make a massive rebound for reproduction. Let's see if you would actually go for it. Now that you've agreed you would rather see society thrive. If it was the case that we promoted that women did not go to college, right, but used those childbearing years, which is their 20s, in order to have a family and reproduce instead, we would see an explosion in reproduction in the United States. And I know this because the correlation between women going to higher education and the birth rate dropping, you can literally draw a line parallel to each other. Because they defer their childbearing years until they're in their 30s, that's why they have so many less children, right? So would you be against a campaign which said to women, hey, you can still go to college, but you should do it later in life, after your 20s, after your reproductive years, and instead you should use those reproductive years to try to settle down with a family? Would you be against a campaign like that?
If we're in a reproductive crisis, maybe. But again, I don't think every woman's dream or value is in the fact that they can bear a child. And that's just a personal opinion, and I don't
what
think
other, well, okay.
Yeah, I know you don't agree.
In fact, let's just dive down that road. What other value? What do you think is more valuable a woman can
I mean,
bring
we're
to the table?
humans. We're like the most...
Yeah, I know, you're humans, but what is the more valuable thing that a woman can do rather than give us children? What
well,
is the
I mean,
more valuable
just
thing?
in a broader sense, our existence. I don't think we can...
Your existence is more valuable than giving more
Well, I don't
existence?
want to limit it to just reproducing. We're
Yeah, I know,
humans
but
with
what you
experiences
said
and
that
nuances.
women's only value is not reproduction. Name a single thing that's more valuable a woman can bring than reproduction. What is a more valuable thing a woman can do than reproduce? What?
I'd say take care of their community. I don't necessarily think that their
Taking
only
care of
value.
well, is there a community if the women aren't reproducing?
I don't think all women are going to stop reproducing at one time. This is just like an outlandish absolute that
They're
wouldn't ever
already
exist.
stopping reproduction. We
But
have
it's not
the
a
data.
crisis.
I just showed it to you. It's not just there. Do you want to see what it is in the United States? It's dropping like a rock here too. They are not reproducing. That's one. And two, if it is the case that taking care of the community is more valuable than childbirth, then why wouldn't you advocate that no women gave birth to children and instead just took care of their community?
They're probably not reproducing anymore because men think that their only value is in giving birth, which is just not true.
Oh, gee, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, hey, you have this really, really valuable thing that you can do. And
that's not
I can't
all
do
we
it,
are.
And neither can any male on planet Earth. Wow, that's amazing. How dare you say that that's the most valuable thing that I can do, even though I agree with you? You think that makes sense? Like, who here can
If
name
that's all you think
a
women
single thing
are.
that is more valuable than female reproduction from a female? What is more valuable than that? Any takers?
I'm
Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow.
I can think of some things, but I can't.
not denoting its value. I'm not saying like it's a beautiful thing, and for the people who want to participate in that is great for them. Everyone says it's like that's their meaning in life when they have children, and like the love is just unconditional and all of these things. But I think it's just, again, limiting to the human experience. And if men collectively only view women as something to
I had a mutant.
reproduce
that's
in,
all.
All right, there's
had a
something I've been
mutant,
wanting to
yeah.
ask you since I've been listening to you tonight, and I'm going to give you the floor, right, for this, because I want to hear it in the worst way. Let's pretend that you're playing a video game where you have to organize society, okay? And you note that one people group in the video game are twice as strong as the other, right? And they don't have as much trouble with hormone regulation. The other sex of the video game, or the other people group in the video game, they happen to be the ones that can have the babies. And they're a weaker sex, right? And they have a little bit more trouble with hormone regulation. Now, you want to see that society thrive. How would you organize it as the video game player? It's sim world. Those are your parameters. How would you organize this thriving society?
I think we're way more complex than a Sims game where you just want to create.
Yeah, I know, but inside of the Sims game, how would you organize the society?
Similar to how you suggest we should do it in our society right now.
Isn't that
For
amazing?
a video game where they're not humans and they're not complex and they don't
Yeah,
have
isn't it
aspirations outside of
amazing?
reproduction.
Isn't it amazing that when you ask a feminist this question, they want to organize society exactly how I want to in order to beat the game?
If
Isn't
those are
that
the
fucking
parameters,
amazing?
you've given us the craziest parameters. Like these
The
are
craziest parameters that you have a stronger sex that's twice as strong as the other and one sex can reproduce? You mean all of human experience?
But that
Those are
doesn't
the
mean
crazy
that's all we're
parameters?
meant for. Just because we're the only ones that can do it doesn't mean that's
What do
our
you keep,
only.
the
What
reason
else
you
are we
keep
meant for?
monolithically saying we're all only meant for X, right? Most women are meant for reproduction. Yes, you all have reproductive organs so that you can reproduce. Men also. Guess what? They're designed for reproduction. The reason their dicks get hard and they want to put them inside a woman's vagina is because they're biologically engineered to fucking reproduce. That's why. And so the reason they look at you and they're like, wow, she's got big old tits and nice little voluptuous hips or whatever it is that they say, it's because, right, they're looking at you as a vessel for a child from a biological perspective. That's how all of fucking humanity is organized and how all of humanity has always organized. Now, I would like you, as the video game player, to show me your new humanity and how it's organized. I can't fucking wait.
Have you heard about them reproducing or making children from potentially from the bone marrow of women and their egg?
Great. You know what? I wish to God that the test tube babies could actually happen absent female eggs. You know why? Because the one power that women do have in society is the power over reproduction. And I would love to see what happened if men then had the power over reproduction. I think that your ideas of being an equal citizen and things like that with men would completely deteriorate into non-existence if men had the power over their own reproduction. Imagine a man could just go and make the type of baby that he wanted, absent ever having to have a long-term relationship with a woman. Wouldn't they prioritize that? And what do you think happens to the rights of women then?
I think the case is that you still need the female egg, but in a
Great.
world you're
and
saying
how many female eggs can you get? You can get a lot of them. Hey, if you'll sell your assholes on OnlyFans, I'm pretty sure you'll sell your eggs for a few $1,000s.
Anyway, I mean, my take is just that I think it's extremely limiting to assume women's roles in society, even if it, again, we're not in a reproductive crisis. Like, this is like extremes that we're discussing.
I'll tell you what, show me then the society that you would organize and how it would thrive absent those narrow gender roles where you have one sex which is twice as strong as the other and can't reproduce, the other is half as strong and can reproduce. How the fuck would you organize society better? How? Yeah. Nothing. Crickets. Because can't be done. Because the only logical thing would be to take oh, you're twice as strong as this sex. Let's put you in all the strength roles. And this sex, which is much weaker than you and can reproduce, we should probably put them in the nurturing roles. You know this. It's intuitive. Everybody knows it just by looking at it. But right now, you have the opportunity of a lifetime. You can make me look so fucking stupid. All you'd have to do is point out how you would organize society absent that. Go ahead.
I just think we're way beyond the necessity to have a structure that consists of what you're suggesting.
How are we beyond that? Do you think that women
Just
are going to go get hard hats
reproducing?
and start logging, or what? Do you think
If
that they're
that's
gonna
their
do the logging?
passion, sure. I don't see the reason in limiting their existence to just reproducing.
They're not limited right now, and they don't do any of those fucking jobs. They don't log, they're not linemen, they're not inside of the electrical fields, they're not inside of the trades, they don't do any of that shit. They get degrees in nursing and in psychology, and they work in fucking office jobs, and they work as servers, and they do the same top 10 jobs that they've done for the last 100 years. The same shit. Tell me how they're limited right now. How?
Because we exist in the roles that you're suggesting is the best.
Because why? Because those are the roles that you're capable of doing, and that's why women select for them. Why do you think women don't select to be plumbers? Why do you think they don't select to be loggers, even though they can? Why do you think they don't select to be linemen? Why do you think they don't select for jobs which fucking kill you? Which is why you see the rate of death from women in the workforce is basically 0%, and from men, it's overwhelmingly high. Why do you think women select for those jobs? Why?
Because of all the reasons you've suggested here.
because those are the ones they can do.
And I'm just saying, as a counter argument, that I think that's limiting. I think a lot of women would find
Yeah,
success in
I'm sorry that
male-dominant
you're limited
roles.
by your own existence. You know, when you
No,
die,
it's by
you
your
should go-
structure. It's
when
not just
you're
our own
dead, You should go
existence.
and you should complain to God that He limited your existence to how you exist. But the truth of the matter is that you couldn't organize society any other way. I just gave you the force so you could demonstrate it. You couldn't. All right. I asked you why it is that women, when they have free choice, still don't choose any of these dangerous jobs that men do. You couldn't explain that either, except to say it's because those are the ones that they can do. Right?
No,
How
they
would you organize society differently? How?
I'm saying we have opportunity now to not have to force women to just reproduce or
They were
limit.
never forced. Forced to reproduce.
But you said, like,
societal roles were set up where it was conducive. It's like, and you know what else is so funny about this? It's like, oh no, oh my God, I don't have to work and have to stay in this fucking nice house all day and take care of my. Oh my God, oh the humanity. Oh, well, how could you do this to me? Oh, and women didn't have to. They couldn't get credit cards. Oh, but they got no debt. Oh my God, there's no debt. Oh no, not no debt for women. They didn't have to get drafted, right? They didn't have to join the fire brigade in order to vote. They didn't have to be subject to poll voting laws like men did. Oh my God, women, they're so fucking oppressed. Oh God, it's like, what are you talking about? When I look at the historical standard for feminism, I think to myself, you had it made in the fucking shade and you fucked it all up. What are you, stupid? Like, you took the same
Yes.
amount of men and you organized it so you could stay at fucking home all day, incur no debt, basically get whatever the fuck you wanted, and be subject to limited amounts of lawfare against you. They'd be like, yeah, I'm taking that fucking deal.